Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here in the Overflow Room, which is an appropriate place to be because our flow runneth over. We are talking about, get ready. Here it is. This sucker, André Previn, the Warner Edition Complete HMV and Teldec recordings. Now, this is almost entirely stuff that he made with a bunch of orchestras when he was an HMV artist. They are primarily the London Symphony, but also the Pittsburgh Symphony and the Philadelphia Orchestra, and maybe there are a couple others in here. We'll get to them when we get to them. 96 CDs, and we're talking about them all. So sit back. This is going to be a long one. I have to talk about them all because I'll tell you why. I could do it in a more perhaps efficient way, except that when you open this sucker, here it is. It's just these discs wedged in here. They're not numbered by volume on the spine, which is a little awkward. And also, you get a little booklet. And the booklet is kind of slender, and it does contain a list of works and composers alphabetically, which is helpful, but it doesn't tell you who the soloists are in concertos or who the assisting artists are in chamber works, and you want to know who those are, and it doesn't say a word in the booklet. So the booklet's useless for our purposes. It goes over there. Now, I'm just going to pick piles of these, and we're just going to go through it. There's no other way to do it. I was really looking forward to this set because, Previn's LSO legacy is very, very impressive. And, the RCA has already released the Previn RCA recordings, which contain some marvelous stuff, too. His Walton First, his Vaughan Williams cycle, some of the great stuff he did in his early days with the LSO. And then his later days with the LSO, he was pretty consistent, actually. It was his DG stuff that got really dull. At least some of it did. But here are, 96 discs. Can you believe it? I mean, it's like, I don't know. I feel a little nostalgic about this because, of course, I was around when these were new. And it's like a lifetime in a box. There's something kind of sad about it in a way, that you encompass an entire career like that in one sort of pile of things. But let me get through this. Let's see. Here's CD 1 through 14. This is how we're starting. I'll have to make this comfortable in some way. Yeah, I'll put this over here so that we can do this in a systematic way. All right, here we go. Are you ready? CD number 1. Ravi Shankar, Concerto. Oh, you have original covers. Ooh, Concerto for Sitar and Orchestra. Do you care? If you do, this is the only show in town. And it's with Ravi Shankar. So get it. It's nice. It's fun. I enjoyed it. I play it like once every 400 years. And let's see. Oh, you get rehearsals from the first movement, third movement, and fourth movement, and about 2 or 3 minutes each of bonus material. I don't consider that a bonus, but that's me. Gershwin, Rhapsody in Blue, An American in Paris Piano Concerto, and An American in Paris rehearsal. So you get bonuses. You get a rehearsal. Now, I happen to believe that André Previn's Gershwin was nothing special. I mean, just because he's a jazz guy, just because he's an American guy, it doesn't mean anything to me. I think his Gershwin was rather flabby, actually. He was a cool jazz player. His style was laid back, very elegant, lovely. I mean, beautiful stuff. But Gershwin has more rhythm and more verve and more fire than Previn gives it. Now, this, of course, got lots of acclaim in the British press. Of course, naturally, they had to pick a Gershwin disc, but there's so many better ones out there. So, this is terrible? No, of course it's not terrible. Certainly he knows the music, he knows the style, but I have a feeling he was happier doing like Vaughan Williams. I really do. That's me. Next, Prokofief, Alexander Nevsky, a very good Alexander Nevsky. Excellent. Probably it was definitely one of the best ones out there until the Abato showed up with the same orchestra and gave the piece just that much more punch. And he re-recorded this for Telarc too. He was a Nevsky guy, a really good Prokofief conductor generally. That was one of his composers. The Russians generally were good were good to Previn, and he was good to them. So this is quite enjoyable and fun to listen to. Oh, Edward Elgar, the Cocaine Overture, which you people keep telling me is not cocaine. It's pronounced cocaine or cocaine. Who cares? I prefer cocaine. It sounds more evocative. Bernstein's Candide Overture, the Vaughan Williams Fantasia on Greensleeves, and Enescu's Romanian Rhapsody No. 1. It's a hodgepodge. All of it's fun to listen to. Need I say more? Walton, Belshazzar's Feast, and the Improvisations on an Impromptu of Benjamin Britten. Now, the Improvisations on an Impromptu of Benjamin Britten is a wonderful work that nobody ever plays. It's wonderful to have it here. This is really, really a fine performance. Belshazzar's Feast, I like this Belshazzar's Feast. Walton hated it. Walton famously hated it, despised it, said vile things about it. I'm not quite sure why. He thought the tempos were too slow. It's not terribly slow. There's nothing wrong with it. It's very good. So, I don't know. Go figure. It's not my favorite Belshazzar's Feast, but it's certainly a good one. The Nutcracker. Okay. I'm not passing it up. It's just 2 discs. I'm getting myself organized. Previn's Tchaikovsky ballets are very good. Generally speaking, they're very good. They are eclipsed by the box of Tchaikovsky ballets by Slatkin, for example. There are other performances that are better, but like I said, Previn was very good in Russian music. He does this stuff pretty well. The orchestra plays generally very well throughout. The recordings were good sounding. Nothing to complain about. If you like Tchaikovsky ballets, you'll enjoy these. Do you absolutely need them? Can you do better? Yes. But it's not like if you're getting a box of 96 CDs, you're going to be upset because those are in there. You can put them on, play them, and be perfectly happy, and that's okay. The 1812 Overture, the March Slav, and Romeo and Juliet. Very good performances. They really are. They're just good performances. I think that they're exciting, and they're red-blooded, and they're nicely noisy, and you don't need more than that. Brahms, this is interesting. This is the piano quintet in F minor with the Yale Quartet. And the Yale Quartet had Walter Trampler on the viola and Aldo Parasot on cello. So there are some really famous people here. The violinists are Broadus Earl and Syoko Aki. And it's a really good performance of the Brahms Quintet, which no one ever talks about, ever. I think it's really nice to have this. I'm glad that they're including these things where he's a pianist, not playing Gershwin. Okay, the Mendelssohn and Brook violin concertos with Yitzhak Perlman. Famous, they're in the Perlman box. You know what they are. They're very good. Nothing not to like. Rachmaninoff's Symphony No. 2. This is the one that, the Penguin people always screamed about and said was fabulous and wonderful and terrific. At the same time that the Tamerkanov Royal Philharmonic one was also out on EMI, and it was better. It is better. This is very good, though. It's really good. I remember, though, when I was a kid, like so many of you, I know who were my age and who were reading gramophone, and you were listening to the Tamerkanov thinking it's fabulous, and listening to these people tell you that Previn is the one, Previn is the one, Previn is the one. And you put it on, and you go, oh, it must be something wrong with me because Tamerkanov is just better. No, there was nothing wrong with you. There was something wrong with them. It's not that there's anything wrong with this. Again, it's a very, very good performance. All of his Rachmaninoff is very good, but Tamerkanov was better. That's the truth, and that's the way it goes. Beethoven's Fifth and Prometheus, not special. I mean, he later did the Beethoven cycle on RCA with the Royal Phil, which had its moments too, some good and bad. The Beethoven Fifth was never one of his stronger pieces, and let's not kid ourselves otherwise. Shostakovich 8, fabulous. He remade it for DG. It was a lot slower and heavier. This is a thriller. I mean, after you know the Mravinsky Leningrad one, which is sort of the reference recording in Shostakovich 8, the stereo one, this was Shostakovich 8 to get. And it was the recording that really put the piece on the map. A absolutely first-rate performance, exciting as all hell, and gripping and deeply emotional, and it's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Very well recorded, too. Walton, Symphony No. 2, Portsmouth Point, Scapino, and Constant Lambert, the Rio Grande. I love the Rio Grande. There are only 2 recordings of it out. There's this one, and I think there's one on Hyperion. It's not an easy piece to come by, so this was a really valuable disc, and the recording was a knockout. It's really, really well recorded, and the Walton stuff is all fabulous, too. This was the natural complement to his recording of the First Symphony on RCA, and it's essential Walton listening. It's very, very fine. After Zell's recording on Cleveland, which is, of course, non pareil, this was the one to get. And it's really just about as good, frankly. I mean, it's terrific. Oh, that was it. That's the first 15 discs. I'm so proud of us. All right, let me put these down somewhere where they won't get lost. Okay, there they are. And let's do the next pile. I'm just grabbing things. We're getting up to disc 32 now in this batch. All right, you get Prokofief, Peter and the Wolf, and Young Person's Guide with English narration with Mia Farrow, the ex-Mrs. Previn, who was also, you know what happened to her. And then you get it, the same two things with German narration. So who cares? They're fine. They're fine. Oh, yes, the Ducky Bird and the Owl. Victorian Songs and Ballads with Robert Tier and Benjamin Luxon with Previn on the piano. This is fun. You get the Ducky Bird and the Owl and Annabel Lee. And let's see, The Moon Hath Raised Her Lamp Above. And The Arab's Farewell to His Steed. And let's see, The Death of Nelson and some other things. It's just good fun. Good, clean fun. Creative, clever programming, and you're not going to find it anywhere else in the same way. So what the heck? I think that's really great. Prokofiev, Romeo and Juliet Ballet, complete. Now, there were two Prokofiev, Romeo and Juliet Ballets complete when this came out. There was this one, and there was the Mazel Cleveland, and they are quite different. Previn's is much more relaxed, much less disciplined. Mazel's was, of course, razor sharp and really better played, and I think better conducted. And now that the Ozawa came out, which also has sort of gives you the best of both worlds, and several others beyond. Ashkenazi did one. It's no longer a rarity, and since it's no longer a rarity, this performance is good, but certainly not top. It was, at one point, close to the top, but it has sunk over the years. But like I said, not badly, because this is not bad stuff. The Ravel Piano Trio, the Shostakovich Trio number 2, with Young Ok Kim, Ralph Kirschbaum, and Previn. Fine performances. I like hearing him in chamber music. I think these are wonderful. And, his chamber music recordings, you could have a separate little box of, Previn plays chamber music and put together a very nice little discography of things that would be very distinguished. It's something to excerpt from the box if EMI ever decides to, Warner, whoever the hell they are now, ever decides to do it. Mozart, Piano Concertos 17 and 24. Previn playing the piano with Adrian Bolt and the London Symphony. Can you believe it? It's not special. Not bad. Again, it's a little boring, frankly. Yeah, it's dull. The Planets. See, now this was another one of those blockbuster things that Previn was supposed to be really great at. Previn was not really a blockbuster conductor. He was a mellow guy. It was just his temperament. This Planets is, again, it's good, but it's not as good as the British press said it was. It was never a reference version. It's a little underplayed. It's a little murkily recorded, I think, even. I don't know. It doesn't hit me. There were so many other better Planetses out there, including Adrian Boltz and other people at the same time. There was nothing new here. I don't think Previn was really that interested in the piece. I think these were sort of contractual obligation albums. He did them because, he was really a celebrity in the UK. He had a TV show. He did stuff. There were some things he did because he probably felt he had to do them. But you can tell sort of when his heart wasn't in it. I don't think his heart was in it. I could be wrong. Bartók, Violin Concerto number 2 with Itzhak Perlman. All this Perlman stuff is Perlman stuff, and it's all in the Perlman box. So we don't need to go into it here. If you don't want that much Perlman, and you don't want the Perlman box, this is a good way to get some really good Perlman mixed in with other things. Britain, Sinfonia de Requiem, 4 sea interludes, and the Passacaglia from Peter Grimes. First class, no complaints, absolutely first class. Previn was a great conductor of British music. He really was. He had a real feel for it. Shostakovich 6, Prokofiev Lieutenant Kijé. Also, very good performances. All of Previn's Shostakovich is worth hearing. All of it. Now, this 6 was not as exciting as, for example, the Bournemouth Symphony with Paavo Berglund. Boy, was that hot. That was a smoker of a Shostakovich 6. This is a little bit more moderate, but it's still a very, very good performance at the time when the work was really very little known. And so it was good to have a very distinguished performance of it. Tchaikovsky Manfred Symphony. Previn's One Big Disaster. Again, I don't think he liked the piece at all. He does the Toscanini thing at the end of the first movement. He adds the tam-tam waps, Dun 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 whap, dun 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 whap, dun dun whap, dun dun whap, dun whap, plat. That's the end of the first movement. He really is boring. So boring. Oh, it's so boring. Why did he bother? I have no idea. And the joke is that he scores that bit at the end to make it more exciting. But if the conducting is dull as hell, what difference does it make? Well, how much tam-tam you throw into it? No, definitely not. That's a blot. Beethoven Seventh. This you mentioned to me. This is a good Beethoven Seventh. It's exciting. It's got lots of horns. It sounds really good. I like this performance. It's fun. It's listenable. Nobody cares about it. They should. It deserves a listen. It's very enjoyable. Prokofief 5, one of the great things that Previn did, one of the great Prokofief Fifths, one of the reference recordings of the work. It was and remains. It's first rate. He doesn't put a foot wrong anywhere. And this is in a symphony which most conductors manage to do their worst work. And Previn can be proud of himself. And there was competition between him and Mazel in the same work with Cleveland. And this one's better. I'm telling you, definitely better. Absolutely better. Better pacing, smarter conducting all the way through. Sleeping Beauty by Tchaikovsky. Oh, well, here we go. 3 discs of it. And it's quite good. It's the Tchaikovsky ballets. We already talked about them. So we're really making progress now. We're already at disc 32. We are 1/3 there. So we're doing very well. Hang in there, folks. The cavalry is charging up the hill. All right, next pile. Let's see what we can get to. We want to get to, what were we at, 32? We want to get to at least 45. So, let's go up to 50. Let's be daring. Are you kidding me? No, okay, fine. Berlioz Overtures. A very overlooked selection of Berlioz Overtures, which is pretty good. You get the Corsair, Beatrice and Benedict, the Carnival Roman, the Roman Carnival, Le Carnival Roman, there we are. Benvenuto Cellini and Les Francs Juges. Nice to have. A good collection of Berlioz Overtures. There have been more exciting individual ones. I mean, listen to Thomas Beecham do the Corsair. He knocks 2 minutes off of Previn's time. But the performances are very, very good. Holst. Now, here is a funny one because, you get, the only thing Previn does here is the Perfect Fool ballet music and Egdon Heath. The rest of it is the Wandering Scholar, the opera with conducted by Stuart Bedford with the English Opera Group and the English Chamber Orchestra. A lovely disc of rare Holst. And Previn's contributions are first class. Absolutely first class. So this is nice to have. And it's a welcome novelty because where else are you going to find the Wandering Scholar these days, right? And it's not that it's essential. Carmina Burana, another one of those blockbusters that, the English press liked to praise and rave about. And it's boring. It's just as boring as his Planets and his Manfred. It just wasn't his thing. I don't think he cared a bit. I mean, and there's some great Carmina Buranas. I mean, there was one on EMI. There was the Frubeck de Burgos. No one pays any attention to it. It's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And of course, later, Muti did one with Philharmonia, I think, which is just first class. Those are all great. And you can compare them and just see how uninteresting Previn is comparatively. It really isn't a question of opinion. It's a question of comparative listening and factual judgment, my friends. Scott Joplin with Previn and Itzhak Perlman. It's in the Perlman disc. I prefer the stuff without the violin, frankly. I mean, I played a lot of these pieces myself on the piano. Not that I was good at it, but I love Joplin, and I love his piano music, and I love his piano music when played on the piano, or maybe in a good band arrangement, but not for violin and piano duo. Rachmaninoff, the Isle of Dead Symphonic Dances, first rate. I love this symphonic dances, not just because of the tam-tam overhang at the end. There's some textual things that Previn does here, like in the first movement, where some chromatic piano runs underneath in between the two statements of the main theme, and they're going. It's really cool. I'm not sure where he got it from. I don't care. I really like the way it sounds. This is an excellently judged performance all the way of both works. One of Previn's best recordings, I think. Richard Strauss, Four Letzte Lieder with Anneliese Rothenberger. No one's ever really said these are that great. It's also more Strauss Lieder. Freundliche Vision, Morgen, Meinem Kinde, Befreit, and Zueignung. I mean, they're okay. Anneliese Rothenberger was, sort of an operetta soprano with a, TV talk show in the UK. I mean, in the UK and Germany. And it's not one of the great Strauss discs. It's just not. Sorry. Previn's Music Night. This is like stuff. It's a collection of stuff. A concert of favorite music featured on the BBC TV series. So, you get Walton's Orbit Scepter, Dukas, The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Very, very well done. Albinoni's Adagio. That really fits well next to The Sorcerer's Apprentice, doesn't it? Humperdinck's Hansel and Gretel Overture. La Valse. Ooh, La Valse. I love La Valse. This is good. Dvorak's Symphonic Dance No. 9, which is Opus 72, No. 1. You know, the one that goes, yum-ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, that one. And then André Previn, Jenny Lady Randolph Churchill TV series theme music, which he wrote all by himself. Not bad. Fun collection of completely inappropriately paired works. You know, just so you know, that's where they are on André Previn's Music Night. Rachmaninoff Symphony No. 1, excellent. Not as great as the Ashkenazi Concerto, but all of Rachmaninoff's, Rachmaninoff's Previn, all of Previn's Rachmaninoff is very, very good. Even that second symphony, it isn't as good as Timirkhanov. This is a very good Symphony No. 1. Nothing wrong with it. Oh, Home Sweet Home. Oh, this is Victorian Songs and Ballads Volume 2. Oh, we get My Snowy Breasted Pearl and Pansy Faces. And Watchman, What of the Night? Oh, that's the tune that's in Ives' Fourth, the first movement. Watchman, tell us of the night. You know that thing, sort of this thing. Creep Mouse, and I'll Sing These Songs of Araby and the Wee Cooper o' Fife. What more could you ask for than the Wee Cooper o' Fife? All I want in life is the Wee Cooper o' Fife. All right, Berlioz, Symphonie Fantastique. It's like so many of these. I just talked about one of these. Do you remember? We talked about this in the Kubelik box. You know, everyone hauls out the Symphonie Fantastique and makes a recording of it. It's one of the toughest pieces in the repertoire to do really, really well. It's an easy piece to do badly and also a fairly easy piece to do reasonably well. And this is reasonably good. But, you'll never listen to it again, probably. Rachmaninoff, The Bells and Vocalese. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I love The Bells. Oh, I love The Bells. What a great piece of music. In some ways, it may be Rachmaninoff's, biggest masterpiece, which nobody knows. And they should, because it's a choral symphony, a major, major work, and it's fabulous. The poem, the Edgar Allan Poe poem, perfect for this composer, perfect for Rachmaninoff, and what a great setting. And this was, for many, many decades, the best performance of it out there. I mean, when you couldn't get, the Kondrashin one that was on Melodia, which is also, of course, sort of sui generis as the Russian version of it. But this was very, very good. Mozart, Concerto for Two Pianos, Piano Concerto No. 20 with Radu Lupu. That's nice. Anything Radu Lupu did is good to have. And Previn is the second piano. And this is a good Mozart as opposed to his boring Mozart, largely because of Radu Lupu's presence, I think. Haydn, 88 and 96. Oh, he had to do a Haydn disc. Tchaikovsky, Piano Concerto No. 1, Liszt Piano Concerto No. 1, Horacio Gutierrez, good, solid, romantic performances without exceptional personality. That's really what we need to say about that. And that gets us through the next huge pile. Oh, let me put this down here. And we're really making huge progress, folks. We're now up at disc 50, and I think I'll go to 75 so that we will finish this, or 70, let's say, so that we'll finish this in 2 more wads, and we should be very happy. Okay, Previn's Music Night number 2. Brace yourself. Glinka, Ruslan and Ludmila Overture. Could be faster. The Barber is good. The Barber, Adagio, 3 dances from the Three-Cornered Hat by Faya, The Afternoon of a Faun, Butterworth, The Banks of the Green Willow, and Strauss's Emperor Waltz. Another well-played hodgepodge that you'll probably not listen to that often, but there's, the music itself is lovely. Goldmark, Violin Concerto, and Sarasate Zigeunerreisen with Itzhak Perlman, and this is now with Pittsburgh. We are now in Pittsburgh. And I love all of the recordings that they made in Pittsburgh because, as you probably saw, Pittsburgh is one of my favorite orchestras. I think they're wonderful. Sibelius 2 with Pittsburgh. Very good, Sibelius 2. It's a lively and lovely performance. I enjoy it. Enjoy it very much. It actually doesn't have a boring finale. That is an achievement. It really is in this piece. Shostakovich 5 with Chicago. Now, his LSO one is on RCA, and that's the better of the two. But this is pretty good, too. I mean, it's not terrible by any means. It's very well played. It's exciting. And, I just think the Largo in the RCA recording flows a little better. And the way he handles some of the retards at the climaxes, he does it with a bit more fluidity and freedom in the RCA recording. But this is good. You're not going to be disappointed. Shostakovich 4 with Chicago. This is the reference recording. It really is, because you've got the Chicago Symphony playing like gangbusters. Previn keeps them wonderfully, wonderfully alert, and the tempos move very smartly. There is no better recording of Shostakovich 4th, and this is still my reference recording. It's fabulous. Also one of the best things Previn ever did. No question about it. Another great disc. Poulenc. The Oregon Concerto and the Concerto Champetre with Simon Preston, a first-class recording that, again, got very little attention when it came out. But, these works are tough to do, and the Concerto Champetre particularly it never works, because you can't get a guy who has a harpsichord that has the right sound for the piece. But this is very, very good. Nice to have. Rodrigo, Concerto de Aranjuez, Fantasia para un gentil hombre, yes, with Angel Romero. Perfectly fine. You've heard this stuff a million times. This is as good as any of them. There's no point in, worrying about comparisons, frankly. Duparc's songs and chansons, Poème de l'amour et de la mer with Janet Baker. First class soloist, gorgeous accompaniment, a beautiful, beautiful disc. Wonderful to have. Messiaen, Tarangalela with Previn, one of the reference recordings. It still is. It was first rate. And when it came out, it was the only other one out there at the time was the old Ozawa with Toronto Symphony. And this really is another one of those recordings that put the piece on the map. It really, really did. And it still sounds wonderful with Michel Beroff and Jean Loriot, the Onde Martinet. It's first rate. Absolutely first rate. It's not the revised version of the score, but, who cares? All he did was take out a few bass drum whaps and thin it out in a few places. It's really, really a fine performance. Dvorak Cello Concerto and Rondo in G minor with Paul Tortelier. Good performances. Previn was a good Dvorak Cello Concerto guy. His accompaniment with Heinrich Schiff was wonderful. This is pretty good, too. Damn fine. I didn't mention it in my Dvorak Cello Concerto roundup because I already had Previn with Vienna and Schiff, but Tortelier is, one hell of a cellist. Very good performance. Brahms, 4 serious songs and other songs with Janet Baker and Previn at the piano. You want it for Baker. It's nice to have Previn along for the ride. He's a very sensitive accompanist. He really is. But, of course, Baker is the deal. Prokofief. Oh, boy, symphonies numbers 1 and 7. First-class performances. Again, it's Previn and Prokofief is almost always a winning combination. The 7th has the revised ending. You should be aware of that. Some people get all huffy about it and want to, jump up and down and carry on. If you don't want to hear the revised ending, just turn it off before the coda. The only thing you're missing is a pizzicato. Blah. Otherwise, you get the old ending without having to hear the new ending. I like the new ending. I think the piece is better without it, but I like it, for itself. We talked about this with unnecessary codas, unnecessary codas where you may like the coda, but you don't necessarily like the piece that it's the coda to, like the first movement of Bruckner's Eighth in the original version. Well, this is kind of like that. But the performance of the 7th is really, really good. So you can forgive the coda, I think. I mean, I do. It's up to you. Haydn, 94 and 104. More Haydn. Previn was not a Haydn and Mozart guy. These are not, again, they're not terrible. It's standard big band Haydn. But he doesn't bring anything to the table, anything really interesting. And so, I don't know. I may listen to it again in 10 years and say, oh, it's better than I thought. Sometimes that happens because it's never really bad. That's the problem. It depends on what your expectations are going into it. But these are not memorable Haydn performances, and I've known them now for about, I don't know, 40 years, 30 years, whatever, however long it's been. Mahler 4, Pittsburgh, Ellie Ameling, first class, a reference recording, still a reference recording. One of the greatest performances Previn ever gave. The Pittsburgh Symphony sounds fantastic, and they weren't known for their Mahler, at least at that point. And Ellie Ameling is Ellie Ameling, one of the greatest singers in the universe, one of the greatest Mahler singers. Perfect for the finale of this symphony. A marvelous performance, one of the great sleepers in the discography, because no one ever talks about it except me. I do. Ha ha. Good for me. Yes, pat myself on the head. This is amazing. Amazing. You must hear it. Worth the price of the box. No, it's not, but not really. But it's Great Britain. Spring Symphony. This is the reference recording of the Spring Symphony. I know, didn't Britain do the Spring Symphony? I don't even remember anymore. This is the best one. Doesn't make any difference. You've got Sheila Armstrong, Janet Baker, Robert Tier, everybody having a great time. You may not like the piece very much. That's another issue. I like the Spring Symphony. I think it's pretty cool. And that is the performance of it to own. Mendelssohn, Italian Symphony, The Hebrides, Roy Bloss, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Overture. Very good. These are very, very good. I mean, the LSO, for some reason, always did Mendelssohn really well. Previn does Mendelssohn really well, and it's a nice disc. And Ravel, Bolero, Daphnis and Chloe, Pavane with the LSO and Previn. Now, this is good because the Bolero is over 17 minutes long. It's at Ravel's own tempo, and that's unusual, and it's very well sustained. It's elegant and beautifully played. This is a Bolero worth hearing, and it's one that you may not know because, again, people do not talk about it usually. Elgar, the Enigma Variations, Vaughan Williams, the Wasps, the Tallis Fantasia. Here they are. Well, here is, they're good. I mean, Previn is really good at English music, generally speaking. It's a good enigma. It didn't make my list of all-time enigmas, but it's a really good enigma. And the Vaughan Williams pieces are wonderful. And the Wasps is a remake because he did it with the London Symphony for RCA originally. And the Tallis Fantasia is so beautiful. I don't care who does it or what they do or how they play it. You have to really work hard to blow it, and Previn doesn't blow it. This may be a little on the slow side. It's 17 minutes long, but it's generally speaking a very beautiful performance. However, there is a disc that Previn made for EMI Warner that is missing. Of course it's missing. They can't do it 100% right. And that's the Vaughan Williams Fifth Symphony and Tallis Fantasia he did with the Curtis Orchestra. That was on EMI. It was one of the last things he did, very late Previn, and it was damn good. It was a damn fine performance, and it's not in this box. So it's not absolutely complete. Maybe you know something else that's missing, but I noticed that one right away. Mendelssohn, Piano Trio No. 1, Schumann Trio No. 1, with Kyung-Hwa Chung, Paul Tortelier, and Previn. Another really fine, lovely collegial chamber music disc that's well worth hearing, and the music's great. I mean, the Schumann trios and the Mendelssohn First Trio, you don't hear them that often, and they're beautiful, beautiful works, wonderful works. Carl Goldmark, Rustic Wedding with Pittsburgh. These are the two recordings worth having. Well, there are three. There was Bravanel's and Bernstein's, and this one. This is a terrific performance of such a beautiful, beautiful, underrated work. First-class piece of romantic orchestral writing, and you deserve it to know it. You deserve it. No, it deserves. You owe it to yourself. That's what I meant to say. To hear it. It deserves your attention. That too. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, look, Previn's Music Night 2. We already did it. Good. And now we're on the last pile. The last pile, folks. We're getting to it. I'm sorry. I know this is going on, but I really want to talk about what's in the box as much as I possibly can. I mean, within reason. And, you're going to get 96 discs worth of stuff. You might as well know what you're getting. Sibelius 2, Christian Sinding Suite, a wonderful piece. No one ever plays. It's delightful. It's very short. That's why. With Perlman and Pittsburgh. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Not as good in the Sibelius as his RCA recording, but it's still very good. It really is. All of these Perlman recordings balance him very closely because he always said, they don't want to hear anyone else. They want to hear me. Well, yes, but I want to hear the Pittsburgh Symphony just as much. That's me. I'm not a violin guy specifically. Debussy Image and the Prelude à l'après-midi d'une fond. Some of you mentioned this in my talk about images, and I kind of ignored this. And this is it's really quite good. It really is. It's a good, solid performance of the Image. And of course, you already have the Afternoon of Vaughan, which is on CD. It says Prelude d'après-midi d'une fond, CD 87. I guess it's on twice. Who knows? I got to say, this is about the time when EMI started going digital. And I dreaded this box because of those digital recordings coming back, because they sounded horrible, just horrible when they came out. I mean, they were glassy and ugly, and there was all kinds of audio issues. And one of the problems was those horrible Angel pressings in the United States. Do you remember how we used to go look at the import section in your record store to get the British pressings, the EMI pressings on heavy vinyl that maybe lasted? And not only did they sound like hell, but the way that they pressed them. Remember, there were spots that had like really wide grooves in weird areas. And it wasn't like that Telarc 1812 where you needed it for the cannon shot so your stylus could go crazy. They just had like places on the disc where the grooves got like really spread out and wide, and they like sucked up dust in the room. You could just see this dust vortex forming over the record as you played it, and it would go and just suck itself down on those things. And after one playing, they were unplayable, just unplayable. So, it was the combination of the digital recordings and the bad pressings, and they were so unpleasant. So it's good to hear, and I have to say, rehearing this stuff now, there are some issues still with the early digital technology. A certain, for example, weakness in the bass or a certain glassiness here and there. But by and large, they sound okay. They really do. And it's a huge relief because I was really worried about it. Shostakovich 13, Babi Yar, another very fine Shostakovich performance that was in print for about 15 minutes, and so no one pays attention to it. It's with Dmitry Petkov as the bass, a very good bass, and it's well sung, well played, exciting performance, first class. Great to hear it again, to have it back. I was listening to it just the other night and thinking, oh boy, this is really good. I'm glad it's back. Strauss, Don Juan, Till Eulenspiegel, Death and Transfiguration with the Vienna Philharmonic. He remade these on Telarc. But these are quite good. The Vienna Philharmonic. Previn was a very good Strauss conductor. He did a lot of Strauss, and he doesn't get as much credit for it as he deserves. But he was a devoted Straussian, and so it's good to have these. They are generally really pretty good. The Berlioz Requiem. Remember that? This is one of those digital recordings of which I speak. It was a very hollow sounding recording, especially in the big moments in like the Dies Irae. I still think it sounds rather tubby and echoey. It has to do with the recording venue. What was it? It was in Walthamstow Town Hall. It shouldn't have sounded like it was recorded in Westminster Abbey, but it did. It was the digital recording. Not bad. It's come up better than how it originally sounded on LP. I think the performance could be more exciting. It's not a patch on Charles Munch or the earlier Colin Davis, but this was supposed to be a digital spectacular. It wasn't. It's not bad, but it wasn't. It just wasn't. Korngold, Violin Concerto, Konus, Violin Concerto, Pittsburgh, and Perlman. Those are fun. The Korngold's just great. But again, very forward balance to the violin. I could use more orchestra. Previn, a different kind of blues with Perlman, Previn, Shelley Mann on drums, Jim Hall, Rod Mitchell. It's a different kind of blues. If you want a different kind of blues, it's different. It's blue. It's nice. It's pleasant. I'll never play it again. Gershwin, Porgy and Bess Symphonic Pictures, Second Rhapsody, and Cupid Overture, this time with Christina Ortiz on the piano, which is a good thing. This is his better of his two Gershwin discs. Definitely better. Absolutely better. Because I don't know. Maybe it was because Ortiz is playing the Second Rhapsody, or the repertoire wasn't quite as well known, so he could get a little more into it and have some more fun with it. But he does, so that's what matters. André Previn, It's a Breeze. This is again with the same jazz people as different kind of blues. It's not blue, it's breezy. Okay. Ravel, Daphnis and Chloe, complete. This was one of the ones that sounded just like hell. When it first came out, boy, it sounds better. It definitely sounds better in this transfer, and it's a very solid performance of Daphnis and Chloe. It's a lovely work. I mean, what am I saying? It's fabulous. And again, if you have Charles Munch, if you have Pierre Monteux, you have one of the really great ones, or Ozawa or Boulez, or, what can you say? It's good, but it's not going to be a reference. But it's not scandalous. L'Enfant et les Sortilèges, very good performance with Susan Devaney Weiner, an excellent L'Enfant. He does a very good job with L'Enfant. You have Arlene Auger and Linda Finney and Philip Langridge and Philippe Huttenlocher as the chef and the clock and the Jules Bastin. This is a really good cast. What an enchanting opera this is. I just love this piece. It's so, so wonderful. And it uses a slide whistle. At the beginning of part 2, when the child goes outside, the owl's going, ooh, ooh. It's so cool. Absolutely cool. Shostakovich 10. Good performance. Good Slavic Previn Shostakovich. Very well knit, impassioned, good, solid reading. Beautiful to hear. Nice to have it back. Strauss Alpine Symphony. This is with Philadelphia. I don't think this is as good as his one with Vienna for Telarc. Certainly it's not as well recorded. I never particularly cared for this performance. I always found it a little bit slack and the playing a little ragged in places. But hearing it again, which I did, it's better maybe than I originally thought. I think some of the edginess it has is kind of welcome in the piece. And I enjoyed it more the second time around. It's still not a favorite. I would go with Previn, frankly, on Telarc as one of the best, and then the Schulte one, and some of you like the Carillon, which I think just sounds appalling, but it's okay. It's okay. It's not bad. Prokofief Cinderella. Now the competition was also from Cleveland, but this time it was Ashkenazi in Cleveland. This is held up quite well. This is a very, very good Cinderella. No question about it. And it was also a good digital recording. It sounded good. It still does. And this is a warmer recording than the sharper and more incisive Cleveland one again with Ashkenazi, but it's a good performance of the ballet. And what a good ballet it is. I love Cinderella. Debussy, La Mer, and the Nocturnes. We only have 10 discs to go. Can you believe it? Okay, this is another one of those digital horror shows that I was terribly worried about. It's come out sounding rather well. Not bad at all. The performances are propulsive and intelligent and well-balanced and pretty good. I was happily surprised to hear that again. Okay, Mozart. Mozart has got it's a bunch of arias with Kathleen Battle, basically, and a couple other, Dinah Harris and Barry Griffiths playing the violin. And you get Kiyomi Scordi di Te. I remember that. That's, that wonderful aria and rondo. It's just terrific. So it's a Kathy Battle record. If you like Kathy Battle's Mozart, it's very good. You'll enjoy that. Saint-Saëns piano concertos. I can do all these in a batch. This is the cycle with Collard, the Royal Philharmonic, and Previn. It's one of the best ones out there, for sure. It was definitely better than the earlier one with Ciccolini or one of those guys. It was nice to see this stuff in stereo again at a time when there were not that many Saint-Saëns piano concerto cycles. Now they're all over the place. Has it held up as well as the best of them? Well, generally, yeah. It's really very good. I still think Louis Lorty on Chandos is the new reference in the Saint-Saëns piano concertos. Then there was the Anna Malakova cycle on Audita, which I don't even think is still in print, with Thomas Sanderling. Those were wonderful. There are very, very good Saint-Saëns piano concertos now everywhere. There's a very good one on Naxos, but at the time this was really important in bringing those works wider attention, and I do think it's held up quite well. It's still worth listening to. Ravel stuff, the Valse Noble, Le Tombeau de Couperin, Alborada del Gracioso, Rhapsody Espagnole, Pavane, beautiful performances. This is also with the Royal Phil. by the way. And of course the LSO was doing the stuff with Claudio Abbado extremely well. So there's so much Ravel out there. Most of it's very good. It's sort of hard to blow Ravel. I mean, people do, but it takes work. And now we're back to, what is this, CD 90 and 91. The Royal Phil, another Nutcracker. Yes, just what we need, more Nutcrackers. Does this nut crack better than the previous nut cracking? I don't know. I don't care. I didn't even notice this. Isn't that funny? There's always, so when was this recorded? 1986. Wow. These people do too much stuff. This is completely my thing. I didn't even notice this going through the box initially. You can tell me how good it is and how it compares with the other one. I have no clue. I have to confess total, complete, utter ignorance. Well, nobody's perfect. Brahms, German Requiem. Sort of slow and sleepy. It's Margaret Price, Sam Raimi, the Ambrosian Singers, the Royal Phil. There's so many German Requiems out there. Is anyone going to care about this one particularly? No, they're not. Okay, that's Sasson again. Walton, Violin and Viola Concertos with Nigel Kennedy. Remember these? Remember Nigel Kennedy before he went insane? Yes. There he is before he went insane. They're very good. They're quite good. And it's good to have the Walton Viola Concerto. It's a very beautiful performance of the Viola Concerto. Nigel Kennedy was a talented violinist before he went insane. Then he went insane. Okay, here's the other Sasson. And finally, last but not least, a documentary, one of those, a lot of these sets, the icon sets that EMI Warner released, come with these spoken memoirs of the artists in question. And this one talks all about André Previn with lots of people who he worked with. So I guess it's interesting. It's 77 minutes, and I haven't listened to it and really have no desire to. So that, my friends, is this guy, the André Previn 96 CD Warner recordings, and we've talked about all 96 of them. Thank you for sitting through this with me. I know it's been a haul, but I'll tell you, it's a good box. I'd get it. I'd get it in a heartbeat. I did get it. I bought it. I got it. I have it, and I think it's worth having. There are a lot of old friends here, recordings that I loved, recordings that I couldn't get in decent pressings, and happily, a lot of recordings that have come up sounding better than I remember them. And really, when all is said and done, even the things that are not tops, it's a very, very distinguished legacy. It truly is, and I am very happy to have had the opportunity to hear it again. Even if there are two Nutcrackers, I still can't get over that second Nutcracker. Wow. How many Nutcrackers does any one person have to do? I don't know. Not all of it made sense, but it really does showcase Previn as a performer, and I think those chamber music recordings are really rather special and lovely to have in the context of the whole. Keep on listening, folks. Thank you for joining me. Take care. Whew.